In this lecture, we're looking at political orientation. And political orientation has been part of the political landscape in any democracy for decades, if not centuries. Political orientation is very critical, students, because it tells us how the citizens view government, their perceptions about government and governance in general. So let's take a look at this concept a bit closely to understand how citizens behave and to also understand how that behavior impacts the democratic process and the larger issue of governance. Say political orientation refers to an individual's beliefs, right? So let's take note of this. An individual's beliefs. It didn't say community beliefs, it didn't say group beliefs, it didn't say society beliefs, it says individual belief. Now, why is that important? Because individuals form their own opinions based on their experiences, right? So let's put that here. So based on their experiences, right, in society, they form their opinion, right? So experiences lead to opinion, and sometimes opinion leads to action. So it says here, political orientation refers to an individual's beliefs, values, and attitudes regarding political issues, ideologies, and systems. So very, very important points here. Let's take a look at this couple of lines again. Political orientation refers to what, students? Individual beliefs. It says individuals because we are talking about the micro level, right? So we're talking about the micro level of society, and the micro is individual, right? That is the lowest you can get. You have groups, you have communities, you have society, etc. This is the lowest you can get. So we look at the individual and what impacts their belief system, their values, their attitudes regarding political issues, ideologies, and systems. Right, so we look at the individual and begin to understand their beliefs and their values and attitudes regarding political issues in the society, ideologies they have that may have come as a result of their experiences, their views about the system. And when we say system, we talk about political system. Please take note of that. All right, so it goes further to say it often encompasses a range of factors. Now, what are those factors? A range of factors. Right? It says it encompasses a range of factors like economic views, right? What do you think economically? Now, if I ask a question of you students, what are your views about the economy of this country? All of you will have different views based on your experience. If you come from a middle-class family, your experience is different from someone from an upper-class family. And your experience is different if you're from an upper-class family than somebody from the working class. So you see how the views vary depending on where you come from and where you sit, right? So what are your views regarding the economy of the country? For example, he says, do you support free market or government intervention? Some people say, let the market decide the prices of commodity. Let the market drive the economy, right, without interference from government. And some people say, wait a minute, government needs to get involved as well, right? So your view of that, whether free market or government intervention, would depend on your experiences. For example, if you're coming from a heavily socialist or heavily communist country, well, you're most likely to look at government intervention as something positive, that government is controlling the economy. Government is directing the economy. If you come from a free, a democratic society, like capitalist society, like we have in the West, you are saying free market economy is the best way to go because there is no government interference. So your views about economy, about social views, such as attitudes towards civil rights and social justice issues. Now, you see where we're going with this, students. We're talking about political orientation and how it impacts society and how individual experiences lead to their views and perceptions about government and about government, specifically about the economy of that country, about social activities like civil rights and social justice issues, welfare issues, right? Discrimination, racism, those sort of things. And of course, the role of government from minimal state intervention to extensive government programs. All of these are ranges. Some people sit at one extreme and some people sit in the middle, right? So this is political orientation, students. When we talk about political orientation, we talk about how you see these things, how you see the economy of the country, the social activities and aspect of the country, how you see government's role in the economy, and what is influencing that perception. And all of you students have perceptions. You have views about civil rights, you have views about social justice issues, racism and discrimination in our society. You have views, and you have views as to what social action should be taken, what legislative action should be taken. You have views about what government needs to do to address issues of racism, issues of discrimination. It could be based on gender, race, it could be based on religious affiliations and so forth, economic levels, etc. You have views about it. I think you do. That is political orientation. We want to begin to understand how that is formed. And political orientation is formed by what we call agents of socialization. So let's put that here. Agents of socialization, right? Of socialization. Now, there are many agents of socialization in our society. We have family, for example. Let's put that here. It's an agent of socialization. School is an agent of socialization, of course, right? We go to school and we get influenced by teachers and our classmates, administrators at school. We have religious, right? Religious organizations, churches, for example, will influence you, how you think about society, how you live your life, how you interact with others and so forth, how you see government, right? Culture will influence you as well. Let's put culture here. This is culture. Culture will influence you as well. And many other things will influence you. The media, the government itself will influence you. These are agents of socialization. And that's how we get our political orientation, by going through these processes, and they sort of form our opinion. What you hear at home, for example, about what the government is doing may influence your views about the government. What your parents say at home may influence how you see government and how you interact with government, and how the suggestions you make about addressing some of the societal issues, etc. Common political orientation includes liberalism. What is that? Liberalism, conservatism, socialism, libertarianism, and others. Right? We talked about this already in class a few weeks ago. Liberalism, conservatism, right? Conservatism, status quo. Keeping the status quo. Let's not change. Things are going well. Liberalism, let's take a look at new things. Let's explore, let's experiment, and so forth. Socialism, ensuring that the government has a role in the lives of citizens, intervening, depending on the level of socialism being practiced, in the economy as well, and taking care of big programs like education, like health, social welfare, ensuring that the citizens are taken care of, right? And then to libertarianism as well, and others, each reflecting different approaches to governance and societal organization. We take a look at these aspects and begin to understand how individuals view government. We talk about these different aspects of political orientation. Again, we look at liberalism, we look at conservatism, look at socialism, libertarianism, which is individuals believing in the maximum involvement of individuals in society and the least involvement of government in society, right? The concept of libertarianism is very important as well, to understand these aspects and to understand how people are influenced and how people see government in society and governance as a principle in society. And political orientation can influence voting behavior, and this is where it really matters. Influence voting behavior, policy preferences, and participation in civil activities. That is why some people say, we don't care, right? That's apathy. This is political apathy, right? We don't care. We are not voting because of their experiences. Some people are not involved politically, not exercising their democratic rights because they don't believe that the government is there for them. And some people are involved. They have high participation rate as citizens. This is participation as citizens because they believe that they can make a change. Their votes can make a difference. They believe that their votes can make a difference. And they get involved. They know the issues. They interact with their politicians and their leaders and so forth based on their own perception of government. Political orientation is so key. It's the core of governance. It's the core of society politically. How the citizens view the government really matters because it impacts voting behavior. From not showing up at the polls to a little bit of indifference and showing up and getting involved in the issues and actually voting. This is very important because when you have a very poor political orientation where voters are on this spectrum of political apathy, it means that their involvement and engagement in the political process is very, very limited. And the leaders don't have any input and they just go about enacting policies without consultation. And that could be very dangerous, students. All right, so let's take a look at this again. Political orientation is what? It's individuals' beliefs, values, and attitudes regarding political issues, ideologies, and systems. The political issues of the day, the ideologies of the day, and the systems of the day. How do you see it? Not how does the group see it, not how does your community see it, not how does your society see it, but how you, John, and you, Susan, and you, Ibrahim, and everyone else in this classroom, how you see it. Please take note of this. How you see it. And how you see it, it being ideologies and issues and systems, depends on your agents of socialization. And those agents of socialization do what, students? They give you experiences. Let's highlight this. They give you experiences. Those experiences lead to opinions. Some say views. Some say perceptions. The same thing. And those things lead to action or inaction. I don't care. Please take note. I simply don't care, right? It can lead to action, inaction, or anything in between. Very important, the core of any society politically. It often encompasses a range of factors, as we've just discussed. Economic views. How do you see the economy of the country? Do you support free market or government intervention? Social views. How do you see civil rights, human rights, and social justice issues? What is the role of government? Should it be minimalist or minimal intervention? Or should there be intervention of government in the economy? And it says here, common political orientations include liberalism, conservatism, right? As we just explained, liberalism, change, let's see what's going on, embracing new ideas, etc., and ensuring that it's maximum human rights and human liberty and all of that. And conservatism, keeping the status quo essentially and keeping it traditional. And socialism, with government involvement, depending on this spectrum of socialism being practiced, could be from minimal government involvement to moderate and maximum government involvement. But in any of those levels of involvement, you have government involvement in some way. And then libertarianism, where the individual must be the one to move the economy with very minimum involvement of government. Right? So it involves these aspects of ideology, these aspects that influence how we see government, these aspects that allow us to take a look at government in a more critical way and to decide where we stand on those critical issues. And finally, political orientation can influence voting behavior. And this is very critical, students, because your voting behavior depends on what? On how you see government. You can decide to vote in the government. You can decide to vote out the government depending on your experiences and your views. It can influence policy preferences as well, right? In terms of where you want the government to emphasize, it can influence foreign policies, it can influence domestic policies, it can influence how a society sees its neighbors and sees the region in which it is, etc., right? It can influence social policies, economic policies, it can influence health policies, educational policies, and so forth. And of course, participation in civil activities, in terms of demonstrations, protest, in terms of social action, all of those things. So this is political orientation, a very key concept in society, politically, and how citizens are influenced and oriented to certain ideology, once again based on their experiences as individuals, those experiences being prompted by agents of socialization.